"You're right, Barry," Hadrick says when he sees me frozen in place at the back of the group, sweating something fierce. "You didn't feel anything just now?" I ask Hadrick as I'm trying to calm myself down. What do you mean?" Hadrick says. "What am I supposed to feel?" "Nothing," I tell him. "I'm sure it was nothing. Let's get going. We need to catch up to the others." As Hadrick nods and goes on ahead of me, I stand there in place for a few more seconds, contemplating on what just happened. A fluke. Must have been a fluke. Hadrick didn't experience anything unusual, so we are not being targeted by the Overseer again. Even if what I saw was real, I was clearly sitting inside my sanctuary, so there shouldn't be anything to worry about. I'm not going to get kicked out into the ether again. After the brief pause, I decide there's no point in dwelling on this any further, and I quicken my pace so that I can rejoin the rest of the group. For the next hour or so, we journey towards the palace. The sensation of switching my focus between the ethereal plane does not return to me, so I don't bring it up to any of my friends. Everything is fine. There's nothing to worry about. If it didn't happen again after so much time, then I'm sure it was nothing serious. The event will never repeat itself. Everything is fine. Looks how ominous it is. Okay, here we go. Chapter 10 of Book 3 is now available. Press on the button below to proceed. Please be aware that this chapter will be divided into 2 separate sections, but there will only be one checkpoint at the beginning of the chapter so that you can still restart the chapter from the beginning in case you didn't save your game there manually. Summary of the previous chapter. After a fierce battle in the ethereal plane, Barry and his friends finally managed to defeat the King of the Underground and Peter. Once the battle is over, the Overseer's drones carry all the unconscious rebels away from the battlefield in order to lock them up in a prison. However, instead of sending a green-eyed drone to talk to Barry and his team, the Overseer summoned them all to the royal palace without giving them any other option to contact him. Reluctantly, Barry and the others start heading towards the Allner castle so that they could have one last discussion with the Overseer about his plans of ruling the city, that the rebels no longer posed a problem to him. Here we go, Book 3, Chapter 10. "Hello," Darwin says, as he and the rest of us are currently standing in the main hallway of the Allner Palace, waiting for something to happen. "Overseer, are you there? We came here as you asked. We would like to discuss our future plans with you, if you don't mind." Aside from the echo of Darren's voice, we do not get any answer. There were no guards at the entry of the castle, and we could ask for details before we came in, and no red-eyed drones waiting for us either. When we opened the door to the palace, we saw that the inside of the building was empty as well. It wasn't missing the jewelry ornaments like the castle of Thelius, but there were no sentries of any kind. There were no sounds coming from the other rooms. If the architecture of this building is in any way similar to the Thelius Palace, then the door in front of us should normally be leading us to another hallway that is directly connected to the throne room. The Overseer did call us to the palace, but he never specified in which of the rooms we were supposed to meet up with him. Is he waiting for us to enter the throne room before he reveals himself? You guys don't suppose this is some kind of trap, do you? Hadrick says. "I highly doubt it," Luna says with blue flames in her eyes, as Melinda is still moving her around with her air currents. "The whole city is under the Overseer's control, not just the palace. If he truly wanted to ambush us, then he could have just as easily done it anywhere else." "Hey, Melinda, could you move me a little closer to that wall over there?" Flower says as the flames in her eyes now turned red. "I think I might have seen a loose brick. Maybe there are hidden treasures in this castle." "You're not allowed to do anything until you get rid of these flames," Luna tells Flower. "You promised that you'd deal with it, so deal with it." "But I'm so tired from leading all those rebels in the ethereal plane to their sanctuaries," Flower says. "Can't I just take a teeny weeny little break?" "You'll get your break once you finish what you're supposed to do," Luna says. "Now get back to work." "Fine," Flower says. "I'll see what I can do." "Don't you think you're being a little too harsh on her, Luna?" Kate asks Luna once the color of her eyes turn blue again. "I'm doing this for her own good," Luna says. "The more time she spends in this evolved state of hers, the more risky it gets. If she doesn't learn to transform herself back to normal, she could easily burn herself out. This isn't a matter of that we can just put on hold until later. It's very serious." "I understand that, but isn't there some way you could help her?" Kate says. "Unfortunately, no," Luna says. "I do not have much knowledge about the ethereals, and Araka hasn't exactly been of much help either. Right now, Flower is the only one who can figure out what happened to her, how to undo the transformation. So I'm just throwing around ideas here," Hadrick says. "But don't you think you might have a better chance of getting help from Araka if you would open her locket?" "That is indeed a possibility," Luna says as she looks at the amulet hanging from her neck, from which we could hear the continuous muffled shout of Araka trying to shout at us. "Let us test out your hypothesis." She then briefly opens the amulet's locket so that we can hear what Araka has to say. "And then I'm done killing you When I'm done with your families, I will kill you in the slowest, most painful way you can imagine. We hear Araka shouting. Her eyes would melt from your face while your head feel like they were exploding 1,000 times per second. It looks like your hypothesis was slightly incorrect, Aluna says after she closes the locket. Araka did not, in fact, become more helpful when I opened up the amulet. Perhaps a little spinning around could make her slightly more cooperative. Would anyone care to give it a try? I don't think that's a good idea, so we'll just not do that. After hearing Iluna's question, we exchange a few looks, but in the end, nobody decides to take her up on her offer. Really? Iluna says, no, not even Hardrick. Well, Hardrick says, Araka did kind of do me a favor by keeping the details of my trial from the God of Time's ritual a secret, but so spinning her now would leave a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah, and she has also been very cooperative as of late, Darren says. I know that it's because we now share the common goal of fighting against a god, but still, with the way Araka has been acting lately, with all the effort that she put into coaching each one of us, it's almost starting to feel like she's legitimately on her way to becoming an invaluable part of the team. Part of the team, Iluna says incredulously, as Araka seems to have finally become quiet after hearing Darren's words. You can't be serious. She then pauses for a few seconds to take a good look at each of us in turn. Please tell me that the rest of you don't also agree with them, Iluna says. I mean, to be fair, we didn't really see Araka do anything wrong this time, Hardrick says. We're all still in the ethereal plane when you decide to close her amulet because she was annoying you, unless there's something I'm missing. None of us would have any real reason to spin. I'm not talking about the spinning anymore, Araka says. I'm talking about her being part of the team. Do any of you really think that? You genuinely think that she would ever be on your side, Iluna, Kate says. Right now, like it or not, we are on the same side. At least until this whole conflict of God of Time gets resolved. I thought we had already agreed that we would accept her help. Accepting her help and treating her as if she is truly an ally are two completely different things, Iluna says. When I agreed to have her train us, it was under the assumption that we would all know who we are dealing with. Regardless of how helpful Araka is, she is not to be trusted. Please tell me that you understand this. Look, Darren says, nobody's saying that we should suddenly become friends with her, hold hands and sing happy songs together. We're just saying that in the past few days, she's changed slightly for the better, that's all. No, she has not changed, Iluna says in a louder voice, as she is now finally losing her cool. She will never change. She will always be the same ruthless, sadistic, manipulative mass murderer she has been since long before she even came to the earthen plane. You cannot afford to treat her like an ally. You cannot afford to even consider that possibility. Do not make the same mistake I did. I guarantee you that you will regret it for as long as you live. Okay, we understand your point, Hardrick says, trying to calm her down. We'll try to be more careful around Araka from now on, and we won't say that she is our teammate or anything again either, right guys? We are not slowly in agreement without saying anything else, as we're still in somewhat of a shock after having seen Iluna's sudden outburst. It's not often that we see Iluna losing her calm and collected demeanor like this. And if I'm not mistaken, the only times I've ever seen her get so upset, it was always been because of Araka. I suppose this shouldn't surprise me, given their past together. Very well, Iluna says, now in a slightly more reserved tone. I just want to make sure that we all are on the same page, that's all. Let us proceed then. The overseer must surely be waiting for us in one of the next rooms. As Iluna goes to the front of the group, the rest of us exchange a few more looks, then we all follow her into the long hallway that likely leads directly to the throne room. Once we're done traversing the hallway, we open the door leading into the next room, and we suddenly get treated by the sound of two loud trumpets, which are apparently being used by two red-eyed drones that are hovering on each side of the throne in front of us. The drones seem to be using wind magic to blow the trumpets that do not have mouths, and somehow they are perfectly in tune with each other. They aren't getting even one note wrong. I immediately recognize the music I'm hearing as being one of the most commonly used songs during public coronation events. As we all make our way into the throne room, a green-eyed drone with a red mantle placed on top of its round metal surface is now entering the room as well from the other side. Is slowly advancing towards the throne, where a few red-eyed drones are waiting for it. Once the green-eyed drone reaches its destination, the song from the trumpet stops as one of the red-eyed drones begin to speak. By the power vested in me by the gods, you are hereby appointed as the new king of the Allender Drone says, "You may now receive your crown."